Shrimati Tulsi Devi ki jai.
Now let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all reflections of the glories of the Lord. Who are just like desire trees and to fulfill the desires of everyone. They're full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
¿Qué tal, madre? ¿Cómo
All right, so let's do the official thing here. This one, they're both beautiful. This one smells too much. That's good. Give those to my wife. Okay. Water would be good. Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, here we go. You, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Sodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Sodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanacharya Munatira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanacharya Yamunatira Vanacharya Munatira Vanacharya Munatira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parikacharya Satya Sada Shishima. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. Jai Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanash Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Gaurani Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mai Pranavadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, we're reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 75, Text 37. Stalebhya grinad vastranam jalamatva stalepatat jale stala vadbrant Jale stala vadbrantya
Maya Maya Vimohita Stale Bhyagrina Vastranam Jalamatva Stale Patat Jale Chastalavad Brantya Maya Maya Vimohita Stale Bhyagrina Vastranam Jalamatva Stale Patat Jale Chastalavad Brantya Maya Maya Vimohita Sale Bragina Rastranam Jalam Madvastale Patat Jale Chastalavad Brantya Maya Maya Vimohita Sale Bhyagrina Vastranam Jalamadva Sale Patat Jale Chastalavad Brantya Maya Maya Vimohita Stale Brigrana Vastranam Jalam Madvastale Patat Jale Sachalam Vajanyam Maya Maya Vimohitat Stale on solid ground Abhyagrinat he picked up Vastra of his garment Antam the end Jalam water Matva thinking Stale in another place Patat he fell Jale into water Cha and Stala solid ground Vat as if Brantya by the illusion Maya of Maya Danava Maya by the magic Vimohita bewildered. Translation by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Bewildered by the illusions created through Maya Danava's magic, Duryodhana mistook the solid floor for water and lifted the end of his garment. And elsewhere he fell into the water, mistaking it for the solid floor. Please repeat. Bewildered by the illusions created through Maya Danava's magic, Duryodhana mistook the solid floor for water and lifted the end of his garment. And elsewhere he fell into the water, mistaking it for the solid floor. There's no purports written by Srila Prabhupada's disciples, but there are tikas from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and from Jiva Goswami. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, thinking that solid ground was water, he gathered up his lower cloth so it would not get wet. thinking that water was solid ground, he fell into the water. He was bewildered by Mayadanava's Shakti, which revealed who was hostile in the assembly hall. So this is interesting, and Mayadanava's magic actually, uncovers Duryodhana's anger. Jiva Goswami writes, he lifted his lower garment, he mistook water for solid ground, and then fell in the water because he was confused. This was arranged especially to destroy his pride, vimohita, by the expert craft of Maya, that's Mayadanava, who made things appear opposite to their true nature, Maya. It's interesting that Mayadanava's name, it's Maya it's short A, and Maya, that's illusion, is long A. So for us English speakers, it's rather hard to distinguish the two, but they're quite different. What to speak of the illusions created by the Devatas, and even more, the illusions created by the Lord. So Mayadanava's illusions are great, but even more the illusions of the Devatas, the demigods, and even more are those created by the Lord. This was arranged to mock Duryodhana's pride. The Mahabharata describes this. Coming to a crystal floor, he thought it was water, and an illusion lifted his cloth. Thinking water to be crystal, decorated with crystal lotuses, he fell into the water with his clothing on. The guards, this is what does it for him. This is what pushes Duryodhana over the top. The guards laughed loudly on seeing him fall in the water. They gave him fresh cloth on the order of the king. Seeing him, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakul, and Sahadev all laughed. Being unused to putting up with insults, Duryodhana could not bear that laugh of theirs. Concealing his emotions, he even did not cast his looks on them. And beholding him once more draw up his clothes to cross a piece of dry land, which he had mistaken for water, they all laughed again. Thinking a door, this is the best one, thinking a door was open, he hit his forehead. Coming upon another door that was really open, the king, thinking it closed, he went away from it. They have this happen in some of these modern buildings. They have to put like little X's on doors because people will run into them. Okay. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Ganan Shalakaya Chakshu Umnitan Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swabadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padai Krishna Bastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamanitanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Prashchadeshtarni Vanchakalpa Trubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. Vimohita, bewildered. Mohita means bewildered. Moha, illusioned. Vimohita means really bewildered. So Duryodhana is really, really bewildered. And as Mother Urmila was speaking yesterday, these stories in the Bhagavatam, they work on a lot of levels, and one of the levels they work on is instructional for us. I mean, these are pastimes of the Lord, and they're all very relishable, and that's how we read them and understand them and hold them close to our heart. But they also contain lessons. So here's the lesson here being held up to us. We have the saintly Pandavas, headed by Yudhisthira, who are all surrendered to Krishna, and of good qualities because they're devotees. And we have here a puffed up rascal king, Duryodhana, who is bewildered and embarrassed by the illusion that he finds himself in. Where does this bewilderment come from? Where does this illusion come from? Well, it comes from the fact that the living entity has chosen to turn away from Krishna and therefore has decided against all good understanding to try to be happy in the material world separate from the Lord. And this is what Duryodhana is fighting, like all demoniac persons, standing against the Supreme Lord. They're trying to find a way to be happy in the world without having to actually admit that they are dependent on someone bigger and stronger and greater than they are. And therefore, they, on their own strength and their own prowess, they think that they can be successful. And here we see that Duryodhana couldn't even get across the palace without falling into the water or being illusioned and bumping into doors. So he's suffering greatly. I mean, this is real suffering. And, you know, in the material world, we know that from the scriptures that there's different causes of misery. There is the misery caused by the devatas, adidaivik miseries, hurricanes, earthquakes, droughts and pestilence and so many things. There are a lot of things there, and these things are suffering. But depending on our attitude, we can get through them, and we do get through them. You hear about a hurricane, and it's very, very destructive, but eventually people do overcome this. And then there's adidaivik miseries, and then mosquitoes and diseases and things like this, and it's attacking us. But again, there's ways that we can become freed from that. I mean, you take a medicine or whatever, and it becomes purified or cured. Not that it's not there. But adiatmic miseries, they're the miseries inherent within our own being. And they're, of course, physical being, like old age, birth, death, old age, and disease. Birth, death, old age, and disease, there you go. These are all adiatmic miseries. But the worst in old age, it's physical mostly, but there's the mental aspect. And that mental aspect, depression, anger, frustration, all these different miseries, they're arising from the consciousness of the conditioned soul. And this consciousness, actually, Arjuna has a good question. Arjuna asks a question more generally about why it is that conditioned souls act sinfully, or they act in ways in which are against their self-interest, just like we see now. Duryodhana is absolutely furious. And this incident is actually something that is going to push him over the top. There's no way he's going to ever compromise now with the Pandavas. After falling down, he's like, you can imagine, he's kind of down on the first floor. They're up looking over, and they're just laughing at him. And he can't stand it. Because why can he stand it? A person who might be have a little self-reflection, that person could actually come to a point where overcome the embarrassment. But he can't. And this relates back to Bhagavad Gita, the verse that Arjuna asks, why is it someone is impelled to enact in ways which are really against one's self-interest? And Krishna says, it's lust and lust only, Arjuna. It's born of the mode of passion. And it's later transformed into wrath. And this is the all-devouring sinful enemy of men, of humans. But 2 verses later, after that response that Krishna gives in 3.37, in the 39th verse of the 3rd chapter, this is the one that really, it really applies to Duryodhana. Avritam jnanam etena, jnanino nityavirina, kama rupena kaunteya, dushparena nalena cha. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Dushparena nalena cha. Dushparena, never satisfied. Alena, by the fire. So the fire is burning. Avritam jnana, covered, pure consciousness. We have pure consciousness, but it's covered by our eternal enemy, which is kama rupena, lust. And lust just isn't sex. Lust isn't just, a physical thing. It's a whole it's a whole encompassing consciousness. I want power. I want sense gratification. I want to be first. I want to put them down. In the end, when they try to make some kind of compromise, even to the point where the Pandavas asked for 5 villages. Duryodhana says, I won't even give them a pinhead of land. So this is the incredibly awful situation that Duryodhana finds himself in. However, we see this as this extreme thing, but this is the condition of the living entities in the material world. All of us. We're burning in this eternal dushparena nalena cha, this fire that is never satisfied. Just look around at how people live their lives. Just look around, or just look into our hearts and realize that maybe after some years, the fires have been somewhat doused by the holy name, but we know quite well why we came to this movement, because we were all suffering in this material world. We were looking for something that was going to actually become, make our life make sense. And we found it in the holy names. We found it in the association of the devotees. We found it by seeing the deity taking prasadam and doing everything that Prabhupada has given us to become purified. But without that, we're suffering. And that is the existential position of the jiva soul covered in this material world. And I looked up, because this verse actually deals with the mortification of Duryodhana. To be mortified is to be embarrassed beyond comprehension. It's like, when you're like crushed, when the joke's on you. It's like someone coming into a big stadium and everybody booing them, which happened yesterday. You come into a place and 80,000 people start booing you. That's being mortified. He's being mortified. So this is a living entity in the material world. So I looked up the word embarrassment and found Prabhupada's different quotes about the embarrassed living entity. And interestingly enough, the very first quote that he recorded, the very first recording ever made of Prabhupada, which is the recording of the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. These are the first words that Prabhupada uses ever recorded. He writes, I offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi, and all the other devotees in the line of devotion. And then he says, my dear Lord, And he translates Hare Krishna. This is what he translates. And then he says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Prabhupada translates this is in his voice, as, my dear Lord, and the spiritual energy of the Lord, kindly engage me in your service. I am now embarrassed by this, with this material service. Please engage me in your service. We are embarrassed to be in this material world. Now, some people are shameless. You know, sometimes a person is just so covered over, you know, they say, this person's shameless. They're doing something that anybody else would just be, you know, feel terrible about. So there's many, many, many living entities that are just shameless. Of course, most of the shameless living entities get to become birds, squirrels, trees. They can be shameless. But sometimes human beings are shameless, and they shouldn't be, but we are. So Prabhupada then, he speaks more about this embarrassed situation that we find ourselves in. And he speaks in a class in New York City, which he gives on August 28th, 1966. I'm going to get to it here. Prabhupada speaking. Very interesting how he says this here. Now, 700 years before, people were dying. Death was there. So has the advancement of material science during the 700 years, has it stopped death? No, that is not possible. People were suffering from diseases 700 years ago. Then, has the material science so much advanced that diseases are stopped? No. People were embarrassed with the increase of population. Has that stopped? No. People were embarrassed with the death rate. Has that stopped? No. Now, 700 years before, the sun was rising on the eastern side. Has the material science stopped the sun rising on the eastern side? Has it gone to the western side? No. Then what is this advancement? Simply defying the existence of God. That is what they call advancement. Is that what they call advancement of knowledge? If we materially calculate, practically, the major questions which are embarrassing us, what's embarrassing us, he says? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Birth, death, old age, and disease. Not been taken care of. Not been taken care of. It's not, we may have air conditioning today, so we don't sweat as much. We may have cars, so we can get to Raleigh in 40 minutes instead of a buggy, which, you know, in the 19th century would take us maybe 6 hours. Wow. But guess what? People die in car accidents a lot more than they died in buggy accidents. You know, head-on collision between two buggies probably only injured the horses. But we understand, we think we've advanced. And then Prabhupada says, we are embarrassed with the material miseries of life. That has not been solved. The major questions have been set aside simply by thinking that there is no God, we are God, science is everything. Oh, do you think that this is advancement of knowledge? No, it's not. So we looked at Duryodhana, and we have to see how he's the example. It's right in front of us. It's really, you know, the Bhagavatam has a tendency to like take something and blow it up really big so you can't miss it. You can't miss that Duryodhana is just a completely bewildered living entity who sees Krishna. He sees Krishna. We haven't even seen Krishna like he's seeing Krishna, but he can't get it. So this is our lesson, how we have to understand this material world is a place where we can't be happy, but we're trying to be happy, and Prabhupada has given us an opportunity to become happy. Now, when I was studying for the class today, I happened to read Prabhupada's it's actually longer than you think. It's the Who's Crazy. And this was a classic essay that Prabhupada writes about who's the crazy person. You know, people look at devotees and say, well, you know, you're not doing anything in this material world. And you must be escaping from this material world. And actually, they're right in one sense, because we do want to escape the material world. But it's not that we are crazy and leaving the material world because we just are too weak or unable to deal with it. But we actually understand that there's nothing here to be actually had. And one time a person who was talking to Prabhupada, an Indian man, he said, Swamiji, I can see why you have all these disciples and they want to become pure devotees and you're teaching pure devotion, but if everybody becomes like you, what will happen with the material world? And Prabhupada said, don't worry, there'll always be people like you to run the material world. So, in this way, there always will be people who will be crazy. So I wanted to look up something a little shorter about craziness than just the passage where he writes. So in this line, Prabhupada speaking in a class in San Francisco in 1969 about who's crazy. And let me get this here. Okay. Pramata. The so-called material, this is a class on Srimad Bhagavatam. It was given in 1969. It's the section where of Prahlad Maharaj story. Pramata, the so-called materialistic advanced people, they are described here as pramata, crazy. Sometimes we are designated by them like that. These people, Krishna conscious people, they are crazy. And we think that they are crazy. So we do not know who is crazy. Therefore, we have written a small pamphlet, Who is Crazy? Actually, one who has forgotten his real destination of life, he is crazy. I've got a big car. I'm on a big road. I'm going real fast. The car's a self-driving car. It's one of those new fancy cars. And I'm driving along, and there's a sign that says, road ends in 1 mile. And it just ends. But I like the car, so I'm driving along. I saw the sign, but I don't care, because I like the car. And the road ends. In fact, the road just ends, and we fly off the end of the road into a giant canyon, and we're never seen again. Well, I mean, how good was that car? And would you say that's crazy to drive off the end of a road just because you liked the car so much that you didn't want to give it up? Well, that's what's happening in the material world. Prabhupada said he is wasting his life. He is spoiling his life. This is the only opportunity. This is the only opportunity. But due to ignorance, we do not care for it. They think that life is going on like this. We are enjoying life. No. We should be very responsible and cautious. Otherwise, Prahlad Maharaj says, Nad buddhyate aram vihitam, artam. They cannot understand. They are sacrificing their greatest wealth. Greatest wealth. What's the greatest wealth? Prabhupada says, this human form of life is the only opportunity to get out of the cycle of birth and death. And we're wasting it on politics, sociology, football, everything. I mean, you know, and I have to admit, you know, I have dilly-dallied more than a little bit in nonsense. And that's just, I'm a conditioned soul. But at least I know that this is here's a plate of prasadam, and here's a plate of stool, you know. The pig wants to eat the stool. He might eat the prasadam if he's lucky, but he'll go first to the stool. So the materialists, they go to that which is not edible by a normal person. So we have to understand, this is our only opportunity. Prabhupada's saying that. You know, like little kids, when they don't want to hear something, they cover their ears and go, la, 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 la. Well, that's material life. Here it comes, death's coming. La, 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 la. I'm not seeing. I don't want it. So Prabhupada continues here. This human form of life is the only opportunity to get out of the cycle of birth and death. If we, again, are put into the cycle, of lower animals, it will take millions of years to come back again to this human form of life. Whoa, that's putting it in perspective. Take birth as a squirrel, and you're going to be eating a lot of acorns for a long time. No chance. Maybe if you live next to a devotee and we put out a plate of maha, you get some chance. So, how do we revive our Krishna consciousness? How do we revive it? And so I wanted to go to Prabhupada talking about reviving our Krishna consciousness. Because Prabhupada doesn't leave us with just simply, the world, everything's crazy, we're finished, there's nothing here. No, actually, there is every opportunity by the grace of the Supreme Lord that somehow or other we are allowed to have the opportunity to take up Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada writes or speaks in Bombay then, in 1974. So we should give chance to people to hear about Krishna. Therefore, we are opening so many centers. Please come and hear about Krishna. Then gradually you will assimilate, because Krishna and Krishna's words, they are not different. Absolute. Why are we going out distributing books? Why are we going to Harinam? Why do we distribute prasadam? Because get in touch with Krishna. When we hear about Krishna, that means we are directly associating with Krishna. And the more you associate with Krishna, the more you become purified. Hridyantasto hyabadrani vidonoti. Krishna helps washing away dirty things within your heart. Chaito darpana marjanam. The same thing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. Then, when we are free, tat parat venam nirmalam, you become purified. We become purified. Then immediately we revive our Krishna consciousness and engage ourselves in Krishna's service. What's immediate? Well, it may not be immediate like we think, like, turning on our stove. But it's fast and may be immediate. A little kid comes by and drags the parents over to hear the Harinam because the parents are jaded. They've seen everything, they think. Little kids, 3 or 4 years old, they've never seen anything like this. Wow. Drags mom and dad over. Mom and dad then take a cookie. Maybe they get a book. They like us. They give us $1. They're on their way. We've done our job. We've given them Krishna consciousness. This is the purpose of Krishna consciousness. This is the purpose of getting out of this material world. Somehow or other, we're missionaries, even if we're totally unqualified. And even if somehow or other it doesn't seem like what we do has that much going on for us. But it is. Prabhupada speaks very early here in Montreal. So this movement is simply to revive that dormant consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Nothing artificial. This isn't artificial. This is real. This is the real consciousness. And by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, it has been made very simple. How simple? Simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and dance. That's all. You haven't got to be a very highly educated in a university. You haven't got to exercise so many yogic postures, sitting postures, or hard press your nose, or keep your head down. Nothing. No labor. Simply come here and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and take Krishna prasadam. This very simple method will revive your Krishna consciousness. You know, all that 2 years ago in 1966 I started